actually can't think of anything wrong with part 1, but it would be pretty weird for the footage to start at part 2. Call this in One Piece, because it's just filler. Let it be known that from this point forward, the entire reason the City of Los Angeles universe happens is because of blind luck. The glow's plan would have worked perfectly if not for Lapis being in the right place at the right time. Colonel Daffodil says, "Ah, good, you're here," like he knows who Lapis is. Lapis, at this point in time, is a random dude. Lapis survives this. And this fall. That's straight up fucking Morpheus. Morpheus is a thing in Cola. If Morpheus is a thing in the Cola universe, then that means Cthulhu, Asgard, Olympus, and even the Circles of Hell are all things in the Cola universe. Obviously, the general consensus is that Morpheus is only a hallucination, but then who's this dead guy and what's he doing here? He's the only dead body of an evergreen we see following the incident, and I don't think it's a coincidence that he's in the same room as one of the Morpheus sightings. The underground section of Part 2, and the sewers of Part 3, and the area that Lapis emerges from in Part 4 are physically impossible. Think of the distance he walks in Part 2 and 3. You'd think that's enough to do Part 1 3 times over, and it is, except somehow Lapis emerges in the exact same Emerald Mesa. The glows are only leaving now. They left the underground as soon as they went off screen in part 2. During part 2, we can assume that while Lapis is trying to escape, meanwhile the glows are killing all the guards we evaded in part 1. That's cool, but what were they doing during part 3, and Lapis is napping between those? And where are the bodies? This takes place in 2024. Why does everyone in this universe continue to write notes in the year of coded transmissions and emails? Even worse is leaving these notes out in the open for literally anyone to read. Marigold's office is in this very base. It's only a flight of stairs or two away. Walk up there. Because of the Evergreen's car that had no body in it, Marigold, Daffodil, and Brigand believe they've been infiltrated by an Evergreen who survived Emerald Mesa. This is more than enough incentive for them to use Helios on the Evergreen's HQ that is yet to be revealed in the lore. If Daffodil had told Brigand and Marigold about Lapis, who he met in Emerald Mesa, they probably would have decided to nuke Azure Heaven instead. There's some crazy shit in Cola lore. To name a few, there's Solidus Larry, a talking axolotl who's bare-skinned and can take as much abuse as a tank, and he leads his own faction in his mech suit. Gage, who those three should know very well, because he did the Sunset Citadel disturbance on his own within 1887. And Venetian Sword, a robot with a sword who can use said sword to block bullets. There's some crazy shit in this world. It's not too ridiculous to say Lapis could have survived, especially because, spoiler alert, he actually did. So now they find out it was actually a Crip who infiltrated. You'd probably think now they're going to start the launch. Even if Lapis was a badass one-man army who could slaughter thousands of dudes and not get tired like Doom Guy, it would still be actually impossible for him to stop the launch. Because there's still a few rooms he has to walk through to get to an elevator that takes him to where Helios is, and then there's a big-ass spiral. He couldn't have done it in that amount of time. If Marigold started the launch now, he would have already won. There's literally no reason not to. Marigold is operating under the assumption that the Crips already know about Fort Yellow because Lapis would have radioed in the existence of a base. So why wait until Lapis dies to start the launch? If anything, having Lapis in the base alive would be a good bargaining chip because there's a chance Kalos wouldn't want to retaliate by sending a nuke to a base that has one of his men in it. It's like a 0.00001% chance, but still a chance. Marigold has literally no reason to tell Lapis any of this. I know he has no idea who Lapis is and doesn't have a solid idea of how intelligent he is, but if he made it this far, he's not banging rocks together. Emerald Mesa had a mysterious set of schematics that were so important it took a helicopter and a VIP to safely bring them to Emerald Mesa. You stole these schematics. You were working on a secret Metal Gear. It's not rocket science to figure out what was on the schematics, especially because one of your employees left a note behind that Lapis found that basically said all of this in a lot less words. A Metal Gear being destroyed by 3 mags of an MP5. Activating the self-destruct sequence for one guy seems a bit dramatic. Colonel Daffodil sacrificing himself to slow down Lapis is brave and heroic and everything, but it's really not necessary. Lapis never comes into contact with Marigold or any glows for that matter when he escapes. And even if he did, Marigold's LMG would probably kill him in 3 bullets in less than a picosecond. Colonel Daffodil killed himself for no reason. And even if it was just about making sure Lapis dies in the explosion, well, guess what? Lapis survives this. Azure Heaven reduced to a single hallway. Lapis seeing Thor is actually impossible. If you know where the hospital is in Azure Heaven, you know that Thor is pretty far away from it. And Thor is way too big to move. So much reading. Mention of a character being nuked by his own commander? Very subtle foreshadowing. There is nobody here except Belphegor. So let's talk about Belphegor. He's a sniper with the glows introduced in Broken Chariot. His name sounds like someone joking, but it's actually from Peter Binsfield's Classifications of Demons published in 1598. Belphegor is the name of the Lord of Sloth, the sin where you do nothing. I'm guessing the reason why that name was chosen for the sniper is because being Lord of Sloth means he's extremely good at doing nothing, like a sniper would have to when waiting for an opportunity to kill their target. Now we know Marigold likes the name of mythological figures that match up with what actually happens to them, like he explained with Helios. Now I can't find the video that I heard this in, but supposedly Belphegor, the demon, got banished from heaven because he didn't participate in the war between heaven and hell. This fits Belphegor from Kola because when Fort Yellow was destroyed, he was nowhere to be seen. Like, what the fuck was he doing? But what doesn't fit is, if Kola Universe is following the Mars lore, then real world lore, as we've clearly seen, it is. Belphegor and Helios end up fighting, and Belphegor, dies because they're enemies. So I don't know what Marigold is hinting at, a future betrayal or something, but nothing like that happens in the alternate timeline extinction event, so what gives? Why does Belphegor shoot Shadow and not Lapis, and why does he not go for a headshot which would have killed him instantly? Shadow survives this encounter only because Cobra and Lapis were able to rush him into a helicopter. If he was really smart, he would have killed Blue Death, the team's sniper, first, because he's the only one who stands a chance against him and ends up being the only reason all the Crypts survive this encounter. Saturn actually raises a pretty good point here that the story from this point forward never addresses or brings up again. Lapis would be excellent at gaming sins. Oh, fuck off. Spirit calls again, but the rookie doesn't tell Kalis about it, even though the betrayal hasn't happened yet, and there's been no hints to suggest that was coming. They still very much trust each other. Why doesn't Rookie tell Kalis that Spirit called him again when Kalis told him to? What a long and elaborate backstory for this one random base that's going to get nuked in 5 minutes, just to explain why it has a sewer entrance. And then it didn't even need it because every building has a sewer entrance because toilets. The bad guy is having a conversation now that they could have had a long time ago but didn't, so the protagonist could listen in, cliche. YouTube Shorts humor. Yeah, I'm still annoyed we got robbed of a Zaddy reference for this. So, Spirit is revealed to be Amber Spirit, formerly Sapphire Spirit, and he's the guy we played as in Maroon Tower. And he confirms that ending 2 is canon. I call bullshit on this for a few reasons. So let's just go ahead and call this a double feature episode. We're also going to be sending Maroon Tower. For one, it's awfully convenient that a former Crypt gets taken on by the one faction who at this point in time, the Crypts honestly seem to be beating with more than even the Bloods. Secondly, sure the helmet gets found a fair distance away, but there's no way Spirit survived the winter for that long. It's not certain exactly how long between the Maroon Tower and the Glows attacking Maroon Tower, but even by the time Kalis was captured, it was a while ago. Kalis' capture lasted a month, and he got freed 10 days from the Broken Chariot incident, which is right now. Secondly, Kalis tries to erase Spirit from history because he knows his reputation is at stake if the Crypts find out he deserted one of his own men. In the lore, Maroon Tower was Spirit's first job as an agent, and not one person thinks, whatever happened to that Amber Sapphire Spirit guy? What about Saturn, the one who learned of the mission and revealed the plot twists to Spirit? What about the pilot that drove Spirit to halo jump over into Maroon Tower's roof? And even if the truth about Spirit did get out, why would the Crypt even blame Kalis for not saving him? Kalis didn't know what happened. He never interacted with Spirit, and that's why Spirit didn't recognize that the voice of the guy on the radio wasn't Kalis. And even if he did know, why would he risk an attack on Maroon Tower, a heavily guarded blood base, just to save one guy who, for all he knows, is probably already dead? How did not one person find out what Kalis was doing? Launching a nuke from Thor isn't exactly a quiet or short process. There's alarms and you have to get the keys and authorize it and such. Although, at least Kalis did the smart thing, and by smart I mean a 2-year-old who chews on rocks and know how to do this, that Marigold back in Emerald Mesa didn't. Launching that nuke as soon as you learned where you needed to hit. It doesn't make you up for all the shit I've already sinned though. The chain reaction for all these nukes going off at once would probably be enough to make surface life on Earth impossible, for at the very least the next few hundred years. This is the scene where Commander Brigand is revealed to not truly be on the Glow's side, rather he's a spy for the Central United Nation of Tribunal Senators. Oh no, what a dramatic plot twist. You definitely didn't see that coming, mostly because you forgot who the fuck the Tribunal Senators even are, because they were mentioned one time in the whole lore before now, and that was thrown into a random comment about how the LA war is going.